Hey there. So now we move on to the next module where we will study modernist fiction from East Asia. The next story we are reading comes from the modernist Chinese author Lu Xun, and it's called Diary of a Madman. This story uses a frame narrative where there is a story surrounding another story, like a picture frame. Here, the frame narrative refers to the family friend who discovers the diary of the madman and introduces us to it. Then, the story that is inserted into this frame is the text of the madman's diary. This is how a frame narrative works. So, as we read the diary of this madman, we see that he's becoming increasingly fearful of being surrounded by cannibals and of becoming a cannibal himself. What is depicted as insanity here, I think, is really a clever social criticism. The diarist is afraid of being consumed and of becoming like the other cannibals. We can see this story as a statement against conformity or maybe totalitarianism. I think we can read this story like an allegory where cannibalism and the fear of becoming a cannibal can really represent something else, the more abstract idea of cultural conformity. Remember, an allegory is a story or a poem with a hidden meaning, where elements of the story really stand in for more abstract moral or political ideas. So, what do you think Lu Xun is really saying through this frame story about a man who goes crazy thinking everyone's a cannibal? Notice too how Lu Xun's story is different from the realist stories that we just read. We do not get an objective view of a slice of life where we see into the everyday lives of different social classes, like we do in realism. Instead, Lu uses the frame story and another narrator, the diary writer, and that narrator is very unreliable. We can't really believe what he's saying, right? We can't believe that what he perceives and writes about is really what's happening. So, this experimentation with parts of a story, like the narrator, is a quality of modernism. Modernist authors wanted to do something different, they wanted to make it new. And they wanted to do something that's noticeably different from the realist authors that preceded them. And they did that by experimenting with form, like experimentation with the narrator. Now, Ryonosuke Akutagawa, our next author, originally wrote his short story in a grove in Japanese. Akutagawa is from Japan. Sometimes the story is referred to as in a bamboo grove. Akutagawa also experiments with the narration. In this story, we have several narrators. In fact, the story consists of different characters' testimonies about the murder of a samurai. This story is set in feudal Japan, which is several hundred years in the past. The samurai was a member of a warrior class of people with a very strict code of honor. You can think of it similar as something similar to the knight in medieval Europe. What makes this story so interesting is that every testimony about the murder is biased in one way or another, and we cannot be completely sure about any single testimony. So, in a way, the reader has to be the judge. So, tell me, think about after you read the story, who did it? What really happened? I look forward to reading your thoughts on the discussion board.